What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. Round 1 of the Six Nations is now over, which means, of course, we need to do a Team of the Week. I know a couple of people really enjoy this over the Six Nations, doing a Team of the Week stuff, so I thought I would bring it back for the channel. I know I normally do the whole sort of pitch graphics and add loads of players and stuff on, but just to save a bit of time today, it is going to be a list. I'll be putting it up. For those of you who've not seen the Team of the Week before, I do have some slightly different ways of doing Team of the Week that you might have seen on YouTube or elsewhere on like Twitter and what have you. Basically, I go through as I'm watching the games live and I note down players in any positions that have truly impressed me, and I make my Team of the Week based out of those players that I've listed. I don't just sort of wait for the games to be over and go look at the final stats and see who was technically the best in each area. I have gone away today and actually gone and got some stats to hopefully sort of back up some of my choices, not just a personal opinion, but it's not going to always be across the board necessarily like the statistical best player for that position. And then finally, I've always been kind of hardline on this. I only pick players in the position they were playing, is in the direct shirt number. I see quite a few Team of the Weeks where people will have their back row made up of 3 number 8s, and there'll be, you know, if there's 5 left wingers and no good right wingers, they just chuck a left wing on the right wing. But they didn't play that position over the weekend, so that's not what I do. Whatever shirt number they were wearing, that is the shirt they're competing for. If there's 5 good left wingers, no good right wingers, I'm not just moving one across. You've got to pick the best of the worst in one position, and the rest of them can fight it out for the other one. So starting off then, in that front row, in the loose head position then, I went for Genge this week. I thought he had a really good game for an England team, not necessarily firing on all cylinders, but in terms of his performance in the game, 18 carries, 83 metres made. It's hard to say that for a lot of props. 83 metres made, absolutely awesome by him, carrying it all day long. They certainly noticed the drop-off as soon as he got subbed off. I think he made a massive impact in that game, and of course getting himself a try as well. Really showing off. I think Genge had a good game. In terms of the hooker, I had 2 names written down here, one of which was Ken Owens in a Wales team that didn't really perform particularly well. I thought Ken Owens was actually playing quite well, really trying to get the team on its feet, getting a bit of go forward. Haven't gone for Ken Owens mainly because a couple of lineouts that didn't necessarily go correctly for him. So I've gone for Dan Sheehan as my hooker. Thought he had a really good game, just all around the park. Just that man never ever stops. He's got so much speed on him. He's a real danger man. We saw him out far wide. He's running round players. Couple of fun stats for him. 55 metres made. Again, hookers, you know, making big metres. It's nice to see. 6 defenders beaten, and he was running all day long. He also did really well in the Fantasy League. For anyone who's seen the World Rankings video, that's out on the channel. We're going over the Subaru results. He got some big points in that. Thought he played extremely well. In that tight head position then, this one might come down a little bit more to personal preference. For me, I've lent towards Antonio, mainly down to the scrummaging. He had some superb scrums in that game. Italy held out at least for that first 10-15 minutes, but there were a couple of scrums where he just saw Antonio driving through in that scrum. Thought he was absolutely fantastic, and carrying the ball from hand as well. They really like just using those forwards in France just to make those extra gain line meters. Thought Antonio was really good. Into the lock department then, in the number 4 shirt, I've gone for Flamand, who again thought he had a really good game for France. Full 80 minutes played, not necessarily the easiest thing to do as a lock, but did look, you know, encouraging for the full 80 minutes. Didn't stop running at all. Got 1 try, of course, got his charge down try as well, making life really hard for Stephen Varney all game long. 17 tackles made throughout the game, only 1 missed, pretty high percentage to be fair, so I've gone for Flamand. In the number 5 shirt, a little bit more competitive, did have 3 names written down for this one. First one was Ollie Chesham. I thought he had a really good game, to be fair, for England. I mean, they're fighting out in the lock department, and to be fair, I think Ollie Chesham outperformed Itoje, which is not an easy feat. But I thought he did pretty well in that game. James Ryan, another one, did well in that Irish line-out and got himself a try as well. So I could see a couple of people going down that route. But for me, it's a man whose name I said a lot last year, Federico Ruzza. Again, this lad is so underrated. I don't see lots of people talking about him. I think he's so good. And this year I've gone away and actually got some stats to sort of back this up. So 13 tackles made in the game. 0 missed, 100% tackle ratio. If you remember from the review video, Italy had 36 missed tackles by the end of that game. Not a single one of them came from Federico Ruzza. Played that whole game. 2 dominant tackles in there as well, just hitting hard. 1 turnover and 2 line-out steals, one of which was on Italy's own 5-metre line that literally shut down the opportunity for a French scrum. Thought he had an absolutely fantastic game. Had to give that number 5 shirt to him. Into the back row then, in the blind side flanker, that number 6 shirt. I had 2 names written down. One was Ludlam. I thought he was playing pretty well for England. I mean, that back row certainly wasn't firing as strong as we've seen it before. People like Ben Curry not really impressing me that much. But I thought Lewis Ludlam was having a good game for the majority. But the one I went for, and this is going to be one of the ones that's not necessarily got the stats to back him, more of a personal opinion. I went for Sebastian Negri, again, for Italy. Just a hard-fought game from him. Thought he was playing extremely well for the time we did see him on the pitch. Played the 65 minutes, not necessarily the full 80 as you've probably seen from other people, but I thought he played very hard for that 65 minutes. 66 metres made. Again, the back rows this week not necessarily making that enormous distance, but he was one of them. 8 tackles made and one of them dominant. So again, the stats maybe not necessarily backing him up quite as much, but I just thought he had quite an impressive game. I had one more mention here, which was Jack Morgan. Again, as sort of Wales players were going, they were really struggling, but he was one of the sort of shining stars there. So I could see maybe some people going for Jack Morgan as well. Into the open side flanker, there's one name. It's probably going to be everyone's name. It's Van der Fleer, isn't it? Just another fantastic game. Men's World Player of the Year and still going strong. 14 tackles in a game, 1 try, 0 missed tackles, 100% ratio, just running hard. We saw so many times in that game, catching that ball and just running it direct at whoever's in front of him. I wouldn't want to be the man tackling. Thought he had a fantastic game for Ireland. And then in the number 8 shirt, joining him, Keelan Doris, another good game. People keep talking about wanting Keelan Doris to go back to that 6 shirt. I think he's really good in that number 8 shirt. I think he's holding up really well. Same sort of thing for him. 18 tackles, 0 missed, 100% tackle ratio, getting himself that try as well. And again, just carrying the ball from hand, supporting men as well. Keelan Doris is a big lad. He got a big unit behind him. He can make those extra meters. But I do really like how much he does actually get behind other people and just sort of throw them at the defensive line. I think he makes a big impact. So for me, Keelan Doris taking the number 8 shirt. In the scrum half, I had 2 names down here. One was Ben White, because I did quite like the speed Scotland were playing at. I think Ben White was a big reason for that. Also got his try on that little spin around Ben Curry, which I thought was a nice try for him. But I have lent more towards Dupont for mine. Again, I thought he had a really good game, really energised. Nice to see him really sort of giving a lot in that game. France had a bit of a hard-fought victory in that one. 12 tackles from him, made 3 tackle breaks himself, just sort of running with the ball in hand. 60 passes across the game, 267 meters made by kicking as well. So, that's a good performance from him. And not to say as well, the things like running down for charge down stuff, he was putting people like Tommaso Allan under huge pressure all game, just running out of that defensive line, going for those charge downs, put them under big pressure. Thought he had a good game. In terms of the fly half then, probably the most sort of competitive shirt, to be fair. I think this falls a little bit more down to what you want when you come to naming your number 10. So first of all, Tommaso Allan, I thought he was running really hard for Italy. I did talk in the preview video about how he might be wrapped up in bubble wrap. Didn't feel like that at all. He was going hard in that game. Good kicking percentage, really sort of keeping Italy in through the boot towards that penalty, but a couple of missed kicks. Could have seen them draw that game a little bit level, so that's why I sort of haven't gone for him. Roman Ntamack, again, mainly for his opportunities to get the ball across the field. The crossfield kicks, 2 from him, 2 try assists coming in. I think he only got credited for 1 because the ball came off of Kutso's arm, but, realistically, it was two good crossfield kicks that led to 2 tries. So, you sort of hand that one to him. But I did think he had a good game. Sexton, just for holding out that leadership and just controlling the game, just to sort of see out that Wales team, I thought was also very good. Again, I think I scored highest in the fantasy as well, just through his boot and how many kicks he was doing. But finally, I settled on Finn Russell for me. Thought he was good all game, just such a wild card. It's such a cliche now almost to say about him, but he really is such a good distributor. Or will he go himself? Or will he chip it over the top? Or will he just do something else with it? Such a hard man to deal with in the defensive line. 86 metres made for him, 536 metres made through kicking. My God, okay, that's an incredibly high amount. It's double what Dupont was capable of through box kicks and stuff. Very nice from him. 80% kicking success. He did have that one that came off the post, but I'm sort of inclined to say that's about as close to 100% as you can get with still failing. Hitting the post and, missing that one. Fair enough. I'll sort of allow that one. So that's why I went for Finn Russell there. Left wing, a couple of people did put their names out here. Rio Dyer, another one for Wales. Really struggling, but thought he performed well. He was one of the few that felt like he's actually trying to get Wales going forward. James Lowe, Thought he had a good game. That interception try as well, making his way all the way down that wing, scoring a superb try, but also defensive effort from James Earl, really good. But there's one man's name who I think we're all going to be having down here, Duhan van der Merwe, just being amazing. Some of those tries he scored over that weekend was just fantastic. 8 carries, 104 meters made in 8 carries, 2 tries. I don't even know how many defenders beaten, to be fair. 11 tackle breaks, so I think that some of them sort of fall into a number of defenders beaten as well. Superb from him, though. Thought he had a fantastic game. Has to get that left wing shirt. Inside centre, Tui Pilotu. One word written down. Inside centre is not very competitive this week, but Tui Pilotu was the one that stood out to me. 64 metres made, 12 tackles, but it was such a good defensive effort again. But working alongside Hugh Jones, to be fair, we've sort of seen Huey Pilotu. That's the sort of word I've been seeing around. I kind of like that. It's the sort of thing. They're working together, but good distribution skills as well as a solid defensive effort from him. Had to get my inside centre shirt. Outside centre, a bit more competitive. This is the one where I'm probably going to go against the grain of maybe your stats and stuff, but a couple of names I had written down here. Hugh Jones, for being able to open up that sort of English defence, the Scottish backline, just playing really well all game long, plus getting his try. Gaël Ficou, I thought played well as well. I can see a lot of people going for Ficou. I think he played pretty well throughout that game. But for me, I'm actually going to go for Brex from Italy, mainly for what he was doing in terms of Italy going forward with the ball. 91 metres made. 91, that's probably one of the higher we've talked about today so far. 14 carries, but one of the things that was more impressing me was every time going forward with the ball in hand, either making the distribution for them to go further out on the wing, or if he took it into the tackle himself, never ever went backwards. Every single time, whether he was tackled by 1 or 2 men, he always hit the line so hard that they actually gained an extra couple meters in the tackle, pushing that offside line back. I thought he was fantastic. I think he was one of the bigger reasons why Italy had so much go forward in that game. So that's the reason I've gone for Brex. Right wing, one name written down here, Max Malins. Nice to see that lad actually having a good game. I feel like we haven't really got to see him show off quite as much as we want to see in that England shirt. 2 tries for him, 68 metres made, 165 metres kicked as well. I don't even really remember him kicking that much, but he seemed to have some good stats behind him. But just getting on the end of that crossfield kick as well, fingertip stuff, absolutely need to be done. You want a good finisher on your winger. That's what you go for. Max Malins gets the right wing for me. And then finally in the fullback shirt, this one again, maybe a bit more open to interpretation of who you want to go for. I did actually have Liam Williams written down here. I thought Liam Williams was having a really good game. I did think he was going to be the one Wales player I was actually going to be able to put in this team of the week from that performance. But that yellow card at the end, even though I feel like the yellow card was a bit harsh for what was actually happening in that situation, the yellow card just sort of dinging him a bit there. I can see a lot of people going for Cabootso. He had a fantastic game again, didn't he? He's just just a lightning bolt for that team now. Getting his try as well, he made over 100 meters made. So I think statistically, people would probably back him as being the most impressive over the weekend. But for me, Hugo Keenan, I just thought he was absolutely fantastic all game in that backfield. Exactly where he needed to be all game, receiving every single kick in that backfield, counter-attacking well, defensively absolutely on it as well. I thought he had a fantastic game. He actually got the man of the match in that game as well. I thought he did extremely well in that backfield, and he just didn't leave Wales with any options really when you were trying to kick over the top, and just overall was a massive influence in that Ireland win. But there we have it, guys. That is going to be my team of the week for round 1 of the Six Nations 2023. Make sure you do drop down in the comments your team of the week, because there's probably very likely they differ quite a lot. I've followed some stats for some, but a couple of them are also, of course, personal opinion. If you enjoyed this one today, guys, remember to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, because there's so many videos going out over the Six Nations. I'm not stopping. There's so many videos going out. I hope you all enjoyed this one today, guys. I will see you all next time. Bye bye.